Oh my gosh, I am excited about this one. This is where I started. I started with this pattern where you do loops on the edges and then you put circles in the middle and you build layers down. Was pretty cool, was pretty happy with that. Then I saw on the internet the tattoo called cheese skin. So of course I had to figure it out and I wanted to show you what I have learned. First things first is this pattern relies on shadows. It is nothing without the shading. So this is going to be a practice in shading. To make one go over the other, you have to shade around the arm to make it pop out. Adding a little bit of shading in the edges helps it look three-dimensional. And then after I shaded the basic stuff, I started adding little extra divots to add some extra interest. I feel like I could have gone a heck of a lot further, but I definitely think it was more interesting once I went that route. And my background, I didn't make it a solid black, I made it a gray so I could add shading on the edges of that as well. Let's talk about how to do this pattern. The biggest thing that you're going to do is two arches facing each other. So think smiley face, rainbow, and then these ends are going to tuck back. They're going to double back on themselves to create an arm. So that is the base of this whole pattern. And then you would add a little shading to help your eye understand that this is crossing over. But when you start stacking these one against each other, it looks a little too uniform. It's starting to look like butterflies instead of bronchial tubes or cheese skin. So what we do is we randomly add a circle. Adding a circle into the space switches up the pattern and it gives you room to add in more bronchial tubes, more whatever underneath into the pattern. So that adds quite a bit of depth. There's one more mark you can do. People were drawing this on arms, and when they don't want it to go all the way around the arm, they would draw that half moon, and then they would actually go a little bit further in to make it look like it was being pulled. So instead of doing a double back, they would do that, and then they would add their bronchial tubes on the inside. So that was a pretty interesting move too. Then shading pulls everything together. The biggest thing with the shading is anything underneath is going to need a little bit of shadow around the edge of it. If we want this to look rounded, you're going to want your shading to go up on the sides. You may even choose to do an arc down the edges to make it go round. And then you can also shade in this area as well. You can put a shadow right into those curves because the sun wouldn't hit that very well. You can put a shadow right in here, but we are competing with this arm. And we can also have a drop shadow from that arm too. There's a lot of different ways you can shade with this. I feel like this is a great pattern to practice your shading. And the way you shade it is really what's going to make it pop. And then what I was doing was adding a little bit of extra right in this area, making it look kind of like a ring around each of these, just to add a little bit more ghostly, interesting dynamics. Like we're acting like these kind of crashed into each other and they added some shading. So those are the basics. Don't forget you can shade in the dark area. You can round out your edges by just kind of adding an arc to things. You want it to arc like it's wrapping around a tube. And you definitely want highlights. A lot of times it's simple to do darker sides and highlight right at the center. And then the arm going over, you're going to have shadows right at that arm. Always, always, always. Let me know if you've ever tried this pattern. Have you ever seen it on somebody's body? What a cool tattoo. I'm obsessed. I love this one. Thanks for watching, guys.